Our colleague Thulasizwe Simelane is in Harare, one of the colleagues who've been covering this election. Thulasizwe, good morning. Yesterday we saw and heard a lot of statements coming out of the opposition party and saying that the delay in the counting is unacceptable, claiming victory, and all sorts of things have been said. As we wake up today, what is the situation like in Harare? Firstly, regarding the counting of the votes, and secondly, political parties, are they saying any more?
Counting of the votes, then, a demolition, a crushing, annihilation. You pick the word, Dan. It's what it's shaping up to be, at least at this stage of the results that have been announced by the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission for the National Assembly. The Zanu-PF in a clear lead in as far as the results that have been announced at this point. I mean, it's actually... when you look at some of the constituencies, the margins are so wide, and I think that's one of the stories. The margins are really, really wide. In one constituency, I think it's Chiredzi North, I think the Zanu-PF candidate getting some 35,000 votes, and the closest contender being some 2,000 votes in terms of the number of votes that they got. So at this particular point, it's been hard to keep a correct tally of where we stand exactly in relation to the 210 seats that were being contested in the National Assembly because of a variety of issues, including technical issues. Sometimes you'll be watching a broadcast from the ZBC and then it will break in the middle of the announcements, and basically you will not be able to keep up with what exactly has been happening. So let me quote the ZBC themselves as the official state broadcaster. They are announcing that Zanu-PF so far has 110 National Assembly seats to the MDC's 42, if I'm not mistaken, in terms of that figure. There's also been interesting numbers coming out showing the National Patriotic Front having won one seat. The National Patriotic Front won the seat in Kwekwe Central. This is a party that was not in existence until very... And in some of the analysis and narratives that have been happening in the build-up to the elections, some sought to link it to former President Robert Mugabe.
Now,
to what extent, of course, that is true. It remains to analysis, then.
Yeah, now, I mean, that's the National Assembly. We do, of course, have that small matter of the presidential race between Emmerson Mnangagwa and Nelson Chamisa. Any word yet at all about how the presidential race is going?
Not at all, Dan. I guess it's become tradition that the presidential election results are always perhaps the ones that are delayed in terms of being announced and perhaps coming in last in terms of being announced. All the counting is actually happening at polling station level. And this is what the supporters of Nelson Chamisa are saying, that if all of these results are being counted at polling station level and are being collated at the ward level and at the constituency level at the same time, how is it that you are able to swiftly announce the National Assembly results, but you've not been able to announce the presidential election results? This morning, Nelson Chamisa taking to Twitter again to talk about that what he perceives to be a delay in announcing the results of the presidential race. Interestingly, he is choosing to focus on the presidential race. His choice of words is very interesting. He's talking about the ZEC delaying to buy time to sort of try and reverse what he calls a people's victory in the presidential race. He's not talking about the what's happening with the picture of the National Assembly at this particular point. So I found that to be quite interesting. He says basically he won the popular vote and will defend it. He says he has more votes than President Emmerson Mnangagwa, and he will defend what he says is the popular win in the presidential race. The president, on the other hand, also taking to social media and basically urging people to be patient. even quoting the Bible and quoting Ephesians and saying that people should bear with one another and be patient as we continue to wait. So I guess there's a bit of anxiety. Yesterday, supporters of the MDC taking to what is now known as Morgan Tsvangirai House, previously Harvest House, on Nelson Mandela Avenue here in Harare, the headquarters of the MDC, to celebrate their victory. I don't know if they are celebrating much of what is happening with the picture that is emerging from the National Assembly tally that is certainly being released by the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission. We saw also riot police units, including some water cannons, stationed across the road from Parliament. They were not interfering, I must emphasize, they were not interfering with the gathering of the MDC, which was just a couple of 100 meters away on the same street on Nelson Mandela Avenue.
Thulasizwe Simelane, thank you very much. We'll leave you to go on to track that counting that's happening of the Zimbabwe election by the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission. Results still trickling in, but mostly the focus currently has been on the votes for those 200-odd seats in the National Assembly. Nothing yet officially about the presidential race itself.